Are you looking to break into the live touring industry? If so, you have come to the right place, my friends. What is happening, roadies? Larry Milburn here from Roadie Free Radio, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the music and film industry with a particular focus on the live touring professional. And I've got a fantastic 4-part series for you here over the next several weeks. Claire Murphy, guitar tech to Vance Joy, Brandy Carlisle, and many, many others, has written this book right here, Girl on the Road, How to Break into Touring from a Female Perspective. Claire and I got together. We broke down each of these amazing chapters to help you figure out how to create and carve a life as a touring professional so that you can realize your dreams, get out there, and start touring with some bands, man, because it's a cool thing to do. So if you have not picked up a copy of this book yet, please do so. It's a quick read. It's awesome. There are plenty of resources in here, and there's a lot of other stuff in the book that we did not cover during this 4-part series. So there is a link in the description below. Check it out. Girl on the Road, How to Break into Touring from a Female Perspective. Now listen, I say it throughout these next 4 videos, but just because the title says from a female perspective, this is not limited to just women, okay? This is, men can use this, anybody can use this thing as a blueprint for how to break into the touring industry if that's what you're looking to do. So I highly suggest you pick it up. Claire is awesome. She has laid everything out very easily to read right here. You don't have to, by the way, watch these videos in any particular order. You can pick up wherever you want to pick up and watch them as they come out, or you can watch them all together, whatever you want to do. So the first one we're going to talk about today is how to get a job on tour. Very good stuff. A lot of good pointers. Again, pick up the book if you haven't done so already. Link in the description. So here we go with Claire Murphy, part 1, how to get a job on tour. Claire, this is fantastic. I am very, very excited to have you and to be doing this series with you where we break down Girl on the Road, how to break into touring from a female perspective. And we were talking earlier, I think a lot of these themes that we're going to get into are obviously universal, whether you're man or woman, whatever you are. If you want to break in, this is the way to do it. And so we're going to start today. Our first section here, our first video is going to be how to get a job on tour. And you've broken that down.
The biggest question.
The biggest question, how do I join the circus?
Yeah.
And I thought maybe before we jumped into how everybody else should do it, maybe you, in a short synopsis, can break down for us how you did it.
Short version, okay. I did a course in university, music production. Not sure that really helped me, but it put me on the right track, I guess. Moved to London. That's a key point. Moved to London where, it's a music hub. So London, Los Angeles, that kind of thing, big city. Worked in a guitar shop. Got a bunch of knowledge from working in a guitar shop. And then the key was I went to work at a rehearsal studio, big rehearsal studio in London called Terminal Studios. So I could be around bands and other crew members. And I didn't know what was going to come out of that, but I just put myself in the position of being around these people. And then I met a guitar tech who was working at the studio, and he taught me everything I know and gave me my first tour, which is basically everything you need. You need to go and be around the people who are doing what you want to do. So that's how I got into it.
Who was the first band you went on tour with?
Well, technically, the first band I went on tour with was a band called Jagged Edge. Do you remember them?
Yep, vaguely.
They're like a hip-hop rap kind of band, I guess. I probably mislabeled them completely. Then I went and shadowed my friend on tour with a band called Sponge, ska pop kind of thing in the UK. And then the first proper tour that I was out on my own was a band called Raveonettes. And then I was with them for a long time, a bunch of years.
And then we flash forward to now where you are out and juggling Silver Sun Pickups, Brandy Carlisle, and Vance Joy.
Yes.
You've made it.
A big leap forward. Yeah.
A huge leap forward, and you're loving it. You're back to work. It's rocking and rolling, as they say.
Yeah, it's having a blast. So happy to be back. And yeah, I was like, give me as many shows as you can. And I pretty much worked an entire month in a row. It was, it's been great.
That's fantastic. All right. So you're at a party. You're not on tour. You're at a party. You're making small talk. And someone's like, oh, what do you do, Claire? It's so lovely to meet you. And you say, well, I'm a guitar technician for a rock and roll band. Oh my God, Claire, how do you do that? How does one get a job on tour? Break it down for us. What are the steps?
Okay. Well, in the book, I break them down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But the premise is you have to be available to go on a tour and, put yourself in the position of being around people who are doing what you're doing, like I just said. And to do that, you have to be able to sit around and not work and be able to go out there, make contacts, learn the craft, shadow people, and just go all in, 100% all in. And to be able to do that, I suggest that you need to have a time frame of, say, 6 months where you're sitting around doing nothing. And obviously everyone's like, well, how do you do that? That's not possible. And so in the book, I break down, you have to give yourself a year of working and saving and basically not having a life. Everything you earn, I put, there's a budget in the book too. Everything you earn, you're paying your expenses and then you're squirreling the rest away. And over the course of a year, you should be able to save up enough where you can take a couple of months off. And in that time of working and not having a life, you start building the foundations of contacts. And, it's so easy these days with, the internet and Facebook and Instagram. You can just reach out to literally people who are doing what you're doing. Like when I started, I see people on the stage. I'm like, oh, who's that? How the hell would I? Now you just Google guitar tech for Vance Joy or guitar tech for Brandy Carlisle, and, you can probably find my name, whoever you want to find. And then you find my Instagram and you can reach out to me. And then the next week you could be coming and shadowing me at a gig. Like, that's insane to me. Yeah, right. It's so easy now if you've got the will, and if you really want to do it. So you have to be a little, you have to be patient. You have to be a little financially savvy. If you can live with your parents, if you're young enough to be living with your parents and doing this, or old enough and live with your parents. Sacrifice for a bit, save up. Give yourself the best opportunity because you need to be available when you get that call. It doesn't matter what aspect of touring or, if you want to work for an audio company or something. At some point, if you keep bugging them, they're going to call you. Someone will be sick. They'll call you, and you need to be able to say yes. And that's all you need. You need one call and your foot is in the door. And then it all comes down to hard work and just keep hustling. So it's as easy as that, Larry.
And there we go. We're done. I think we're good. I really when I read the book as someone who was a quote unquote solopreneur, as a filmmaker and whatnot, coming up, and also a musician for a long time in LA. I really appreciated not only the whole sort of structure of the book and the advice that you give overall, but how you position that advice and break all the steps down. And I think anyone reading the book will appreciate that as well. And the first thing that you start with, because like you said, it's so easy today with Instagram or Facebook, whatever it is, to be able to reach out to somebody, but also to be able to see what that world looks like through the filter of someone else's feed, let's say, and it looks really glamorous. And there are months when you didn't work. Pandemic aside, there are months and times when you didn't work. You were probably out for 2 months and thought, this is amazing. This isn't going to end. And then it ends for a while and you're like, oh my God. And so I think the root of it, where you start in this particular chapter on how to get a tour, the first subject heading is you have to really want it. So I'm wondering if you can take that one, and we'll go into some of these a little bit here as well. And you know, why do you have to really want it?
Because it's a struggle for a long time. Unless you get lucky and you get thrown on a tour, and it happens. You know, you get thrown on straight into like an arena tour or something, and that does happen. But you know, for a lot of people, you are struggling and struggling and struggling, and it's anything freelance. You know, if you're like a filmmaker or script writer or anything creative in a band, like I gave up being in a band. It was not too difficult, but you know, I had to rely on other people to be as passionate as I was. So with this, it's all me. I want it. I'm going to go do it. But still, it took years and years and years. You know, I went on tour with Jagged Edge when I was working in the guitar shop. And then it was years before I went on the next tour. Nothing came of it. And I was reaching out to the people on that tour, and one of them was a woman. And I was like, well, she's going to help me. And I didn't get any help there. And, you know, and I assumed, oh, they'll just, you know, I'm keen, they'll just help me. But
yeah,
it's not just that. It's not just being keen. You really just got to keep pushing and saying that, you know, you can reach out to me and, you know, I'll help you. Well, of course, I will try to help you, but I can't just give you a job on tour either. But
right.
You know,
right.
knowing that there's someone there who, when an opportunity comes up, I can then pass that on. But you need to want it, because you're going to be broke. You're going to get disheartened. You're going to get a tour and then nothing after that. You know, I went out with the Raveonettes for a couple of months over the summer, and then there was nothing. And so I would freak out every time for the first 2 years after I had a tour. I would say to my friend Mark, I'm like, what's next? What am I going to do? What if no one ever calls again? That went on for ages. And he's like, you need to calm down. They'll call you. I'll pass on word, you know, when I get it. I was impatient. I was excited. I wanted to, you know, get going. So you have to keep the faith. You have to just keep going. And it doesn't seem like you're making any headway at all. And then all of a sudden you get with a particular band, and then, you know, things fall into place, and then you're away. Yeah.
I think the other thing probably...
So you do need to want it.
Yeah. I think the other thing probably that you would agree is, like, just because you've quote unquote made it, right, and you're working, you still have to really want it once you're working and you're out on tour, because it's not easy work, right? You're away from your families, you're away from your friends, you're living out of a suitcase basically for months on end. They're long days, right? Sometimes your day off. I'm sure you've been sitting in your hotel room restringing guitars on a day off. And like you said, there are 700 people behind you that want that job. So you have to really want it to get it, and then you have to really want it to keep it and have longevity in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who I think sometimes forget that they're in this because they want to be in it. So yeah, it's long days, but remember, at the end of the day, this is a job you wanted, and you love your job. So try and keep a good attitude about it, and yeah, because it can get very tiring.
Yeah. You know, and going back to my praise of sort of the practical approach about it, I never would have thought to... I think when people go after their dream, they just run headlong into it, and they grab everything they can, and they do whatever they can. But the practicality of working, knowing that it's a long game, saving up 6 months of expenses so that you can be available, I think that's also a big piece of it as well. So maybe we can just talk about, you know, that in those 6 months of saving up expenses, you're researching, you know, the job and all that sort of stuff, and you're available for things, but you're also, it's that R&D period, I guess, right? In that time.
Yeah, because it takes time to save up money. You know, it's when the examples I put in the book are, you know, working off of minimum wage figures. So I'm not trying to say like, oh, you're working in a, you know, well-paid job, and in a couple of months you can take a year off. No, this is minimum wage. You're having to like share a room, or, you know, a room in a shared house, keep your bills low. Yeah, it's and it's my whole thing is you don't want to have to say no to an opportunity down the line.
Yeah.
So you have to give yourself a long time, like 6 months off. People are like, you don't need that much. I'm just going to go and, go and knock on a venue door or whatever. But what if someone calls you and says, I need you to come and, can you do this tour? It's only a week. It doesn't pay very much. Oh, well, I've got rent to pay this month. Oh, I've got my job on Monday. I have to go in because I have bills to pay. That whole opportunity has gone, and that opportunity could have paved the way for the rest of your career. And I think it's the key point that people don't think about. They're like, well, do I just get on tour with my friends, or how do I get on tour? Well, you can get on tour, but how do you last on tour? How do you keep getting back on tour? Because you need to be able to afford it. Any freelance position, you need to go all in on it, and you need to have that money there. And, a lot of people who come from a privileged background, it's fine. They can just sit around, if they've got money coming in or their parents' money or whatever. They sit around, it doesn't matter. They can. No, we're talking about how does regular Joe Schmo go from nothing, no contact, onto getting on tour and staying on tour. And that is a key point. I don't think a lot of people will do it because it's hard to save up that much money. And if it takes you a year to do it, who's going to do that? Everyone's impatient. Well, I'm impatient. Why am I going to save money for a year? This should have been pre-pandemic if we'd known, because go do a regular job, go do some boring job for a year, and then when we come back, you'll have the money to sit around and wait for the calls. And you would have waited a week because everybody's looking for crew. It would have been straight out there. And it's still happening now. So, yeah.
Well, and this is the stuff that, because this comes up quite a bit in interviews that I do. This is the stuff that they don't necessarily teach you, right? If you go to school, if you go to audio school or whatnot, there's sort of the business of the business. You can learn all the technical stuff in school, but that's totally different than having a life on the road and how to live your life on and off the road in an industry that's up and down all the time, and where your work schedule is up and down all the time. And so, I think that's that first period of saving up for 6 months or saving up for a year, whatever it is probably fantastic training and a foundation to build for the rest of your career, because it teaches you to be frugal while you're out on the road or you're doing this, because you don't know what's going to happen when you get home.
Exactly. And people get caught up in, going and doing their courses and their training, but you can just get on tour as a driver, as a merch person. No one teaches you how to do merch. You've got basic math skills and you can count. So, away you go. And that's all you need. You can be taught everything else from the ground up once you get on tour.
Right.
So I keep coming back to you don't need to go to university or college, which is not the message I want to pass along. But it's not all skills based to start with. Just get out there. It's being savvy about it and just being able to survive. It's the people who can say yes and just go jump on a tour, and then they'll learn.
Yep. I think the last 2 points in this chapter are great, and we'll wrap them up together. And that is to be indispensable and to enjoy it. Tell me about those.
Well, yeah, obviously enjoy it, because, you've worked so hard to get there. And, I've been guilty of that sometimes when you're on a tour, it's just so long, you're away for so long, a couple of months, and it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't have a life. I'm missing friends' birthdays and weddings. And now after the pandemic, everybody has this renewed kind of, we are so grateful to be here. But for the people just starting out, just when, if you get on tour, don't be complaining immediately about, I have to share a hotel room, or we're driving 8 hours a day, or whatever. It's just roll with it. It gets better. And then it can also get worse depending on what you're doing. It's a tough job, but enjoy it and be indispensable. I mean, again, going back to not needing to be the best sound engineer or luthier before you get on tour. You want to be the most helpful. You want to be the hardest working, most thoughtful person, because that will shine through. There's always someone out there who can, help you do something if you don't know how to do it. But they're not going to be there making you get out of bed on time or loading the truck or, having that work ethic.
Yeah.
That is huge. And all through my career, when I'm on my A game, that's what's noticed. It's the thing, and you will get called back. Just do more than everybody else.
Yeah, it's
and
basically saying
they need you. They will call you back.
Yeah, it's basically, I interpret some of that as being optimistic, right? Having a good disposition and saying yes to everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Don't complain and say yes. I mean, within reason. Don't don't put yourself in stupid situations. But
right.
Yes. Can you do this tomorrow? Yes. Can you? Yes, right. yes, and do things before they even ask to do things.
Right. Anticipating the whole thing. Yeah. I guess in the saying yes thing too is I think, sometimes we get stuck in the I'm a guitar tech. I'm not going to touch that other piece of gear on that's not my, whatever it is. Right. And if someone asks you fuck man, can you just go make me a quick cup of coffee because I can't get it? Sure. No problem.
Exactly.
It's not
so
like
huge.
I don't make fucking coffee. I don't get dry cleaning. You go do those things and people notice. Yeah,
it's such a small thing, but it's such a huge thing. It's not my job thing drives me up the wall. We're all a team. We're in it together to get the show happening from the beginning to the end and to the next day. And we can make this easy or we can make it hard, and that will carry you very far in your career versus sitting, being grumpy, watching YouTube videos about how to refret a guitar. It's,
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I think it's a mindset. That's what I like about this first chapter. Is it's it sort of creates the mindset of what you need to do to accomplish this. And like you said, you haven't even really broken down what your skill set is here. There's because your research.
I don't think I even mention it at all in the book about
nothing.
Going and learning anything.
Right. I mean, as you said, you can, for merch, all you need to do is know how to unpack a cardboard box, put the stuff up, count money, put it back in the box on the truck, and you're gone. And in the middle of that,
and it is a very important job, though. Just all the merch people out there, they make beautiful displays. You don't want to lose any money, and there's a lot that goes into it now on tours with, accounting for stuff. So just to appease all the merch people that I love.
We're not taking anything away from that. But but it's not like refretting a guitar and the first note they hit, a string snaps and you look like an idiot, right? We're not talking about that, or we're not talking about blowing up a PA or something. But in the middle of setting up your merch thing and all that stuff, you're making friends, you're getting your name out there, you're getting your attitude out there, and you're watching and listening and learning. And so, I just think it's great. And I think also, you would agree, obviously, in this first section here of these 6 months and whatnot, or while you're working, of course, you can take a weekend class or a one-night seminar on sound or on, guitar teching or drum teching, whatever it is, and like you said, maybe if you work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, maybe Saturday and Sunday you work at a rehearsal studio. Learn how to wrap a cable properly.
That's what I did. I had a regular job Monday to Friday, and then in the evenings I went to the rehearsal studio, and on weekends, I was basically just working. But I knew what the outcome, why I was doing it. Something was going to happen. And then eventually I could quit my normal job and just work there. So bigger picture, have a bigger picture for everything. Like just having a good attitude, bigger picture. Don't complain about stuff. You know, and we all have our days. If you've toured with me, you know I have my days. But generally, try and, you know, have a great attitude.
So there you go, guys. Claire Murphy breaking down for you how to get a job on tour. Again, if you haven't picked up this book, go ahead and do so. Link in the description. Stay tuned for the next 3 videos in this series. You're not going to want to miss them. We talk about money. We talk about the different stages of travel. And then, of course, all of the fun tips to do on and off the road to help you have a long and a luxurious career in the live touring industry. Like this video if you did. Leave me a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts on some of this stuff and what your path has been. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you find out when more videos come out. We'll see you in part 2. No roadies, no rock and roll.